is no such thing as a magic without rules. Sure, some magics may have less rules than others, some may break those rules, and some might completely ignore the rules that they set in place just for a plot that overall makes no sense. I'm looking at you, cursed child. But overall, your soft magic system isn't based on its lack of rules. So let's actually discuss what makes a magic system soft. This is part 2 to a 2-part series. If you rather learn about hard magic systems, that is going to be part 1, and the link is over here and also in the description if you want to check it out later. If you're new here, welcome. I overall make content about writing and stories and magic systems, and if you like that kind of thing, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I do plan on releasing a video at least once a month, more if I get the time, and if you can't wait patiently like the rest of the class and you just want to be better than everybody else, go over to my Patreon, where you can be the first to watch the video and comment and let me know if there is any changes that need to be made. Hope to see you there. Now back to the video. What is a soft magic? So I said this in the last video, but it bears repeating. The most basic definition for a hard and soft magic, and the one I don't really prefer to use, is that a hard magic has a lot of rules, while a soft magic has no rules. In the last video, we discussed that a hard magic isn't actually defined by how many rules it has, but how those rules are used to solve problems and what emotion you're wanting your audience to feel. In the same sense, soft magic isn't about its lack of rules, but it's about the emotion you're wanting to achieve in your writing. A hard magic is usually used as a science. It's more used for problem solving. It makes us feel proud of the character and gives us that sense of achievement. It makes us say, wow, that was a really interesting way to use that magic. A soft magic is usually unexplainable and leaves us in awe. It's used to make the world feel more wondrous or bigger than we can understand. When a soft magic is used, we, the audience, go, wow, that was amazing. Hard versus soft is proud versus wowed. Achievement versus amazement. The overused examples of soft magic would be Gandalf and Dumbledore. We don't understand their magic, but they're there to leave us in awe, to make the world feel so much bigger, especially compared to our younger, smaller, and less powerful protagonist. Media is littered with soft magic. You have Percy Jackson, Narnia, Star Wars, almost every Disney story, and Studio Ghibli is known for its amazing soft magic. I just realized that all of those are either partially or fully owned by Disney. Monopoly. Do understand that it's not about whether the author or the character understands their magic. It's about whether the audience understands the magic. If the audience can't predict what a magic is going to do, then it's most likely going to be a soft magic. I'm sure there is some deep lore to Gandalf's magic and how it all works, but his point to the story isn't for us to predict how he'll solve the problems. It's to surprise us, leave us with wonder. Gandalf is the sharp contrast to the hobbits who have no magic whatsoever. He is there to make Frodo feel small. As much as I love a hard magic system, I think soft magics deserve a place in every story. The point of fantasy is to take us to new magical worlds. Realistically, there is going to be unexplainable things that just happen. And maybe one day we'll find an explanation, or maybe it will forever be a mystery. But that's part of the wonder. Does it matter why only the people who've seen death can see the Thestrals in Harry Potter? No, but is it really interesting world building? Yes! It's important to note that a magic system as a whole can have a little bit of hard and soft magic elements. Harry Potter is overall a more soft magic system. Unpredictable things are happening all the time, constantly making the world feel more wondrous, but when it comes to Harry using the magic to solve problems, we usually understand the rules of that magic, the word he needs to say, the feeling he needs to feel, so that when he accomplishes something using that magic, we feel proud of him. This is using a hard magic to solve a problem. So when I talk about a specific story or a scene in that story, I'm not saying the story as a whole is a soft magic, just specifically that scene in the story. Soft magic is kind of the OG of magic, which is kind of where the original definition came from, something unexplainable and unknown. If you go back to the oldest stories, they always have something unexplainable happening because magic. And as time went on, people started taking that idea of magic, giving it rules like science, and making it more of a tool to use to problem solve. Further down the road, this became coined as hard magic by Brandon Sanderson. Around this time, I feel like there was this huge spike in hard magic systems. Everyone started wanting more hard magic systems and looking down on soft magic systems as just inferior. Some people started thinking that a soft magic was just a cop-out to a problem. But see, that's only the case if your soft magic is written poorly. So let's discuss how to create a soft magic. So creating a soft magic seems pretty simple, right? You don't have to give it rules, you don't have to give it limits. You can just write whatever you want to happen, and it happens because, like we said before, magic. But the really difficult thing about creating a soft magic is using it in a way that still leaves your readers satisfied. The one rule, what I think is one of the most important things to creating a soft magic, is giving it one rule. I know, that sounds crazy. Soft magic is based on not having rules. How dare you say the most important thing is having a rule? Well, because, like I said before, all magic systems have rules. It doesn't matter how soft it is, there's always one rule. Let's look at Gandalf again. His magic can do crazy things. I have no idea what the limits of his magic are. I'm pretty sure he's like an angel. But what is the one rule Gandalf has that is very plot related? He can't carry the ring. Now, yes, maybe that doesn't have to do directly with his magic, but it is a rule he has. This is why Gandalf, the all-powerful wizard, can't solve the problem. This is why we need Frodo. It needs to be clear to your audience why your magic can't solve all your heroes' problems. Dumbledore can't kill Voldemort. Doctor Strange can't send all the villains back to their dimension without the MacGuffin Peter Parker steals from him. Only true love can fix, insert random problem here, you get the idea. When you have a soft magic in your story, it needs to be clear to your audience why that magic can't just fix all the problems in your story, or what kind of consequences happen when your hero does use that magic. That being said, do be careful, because the more rules you add, the more your audience begins to understand that magic. And the more you use that magic to solve problems, the more hard it becomes. And if you do have a set rule for your soft magic system, make sure you're not breaking that rule later on unless it has a narrative purpose. You can't just say Gandalf can't carry the ring and then have him show up at the end and throw it in the mountain for Frodo. This is actually a problem in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Aang is told his avatar state is gone forever, but then he hits his back just the right way and suddenly it's back for the final fight. The avatar state itself was very soft magic compared to the hard magic of bending. I had no issues when he lost his avatar state because of some soft spirit magic stuff. The story gave me one rule, that if Aang chose love, he would lose the avatar state forever. But then the story breaks that rule and I'm left unsatisfied by the ending. Now I did say don't break your rules unless it serves a narrative purpose. In Asimov's robot series, he gives 3 laws to robotics. But then the story is about a robot who ends up breaking those laws or finding ways around them. And then the whole narrative is about figuring out why the robot is doing these things. If the narrative purpose of Avatar was for Aang to prove he can still have the avatar state and love, him getting his avatar state back would have been justified if it was an inner resolution that brought it back. Still a soft magic solution, but one that leaves the audience satisfied. There are 2 main ways that I see soft magic being used in stories: to solve problems and to not solve problems. Wow, Moon, you really nailed that one. Very specific. Calm down. I'm getting to the specifics. Let's start with not solving problems. This is the most common form that I see writers using soft magic for. Now, when I say solving problems, I don't mean small mid-story problems. It's okay if Hermione doesn't have enough room in her purse, so she enchants it to hold an entire library.
That'll be the books.
This has no impact on the plot itself and serves to make the world more wondrous. I'm talking about plot-related resolutions not obtained using magic. This is when stories have magic systems to make the story more fantastical and interesting, but the overall plot is more of a inner human conflict. These stories may deal with grief, coming of age, conflict with society's rules, romances, friendships, just normal human life situations being told in a fantasy setting. In romance stories like Twilight or Dance of Thieves, the magic never really solves the story's conflict because the main conflict usually resides in whether the 2 characters get together and stay in love, something that can't be solved with magic. If you've ever seen Smallville, a fantastic campy Superman show from the 2000s, go watch it. The best episodes are not the ones where Clark uses his abilities to save the day, but the ones where his identity is revealed, or when he and his love interest have a moment that brings them closer to being together, or when he and his best friend have a falling out. Character conflict is one of the most interesting things that you can do in a story, so being able to do that while adding these fantastical elements like magic and cool world building is just a real plus for a lot of readers. Relying on the more human, emotional part of your story and letting it drive your narrative is the beauty of a soft magic system. It's giving you a chance to tell a story that might have already been told 1,000 times, but in a unique way by adding your own magic and world building. There are a few different ways you can go about not solving problems. One is creating problems. Simply don't give your magic to your main hero. Instead, give it to your villain, or put it in the world where it just causes problems for your hero. This usually shows up in the form of curses. A story about a mother and daughter growing closer together is far more interesting when the daughter turns her mother into a bear by feeding her a tart she got from a woodcarver in the woods. The great thing about creating problems with your soft magic is that you don't have to have a reason for why it works or where it comes from. As readers, we tend to be lenient on how unexplainable or ridiculous a magic is, as long as it's making our hero's life more complicated. Obviously, there is a limit to reason here. If you set up that your villain has only fire powers and they suddenly start teleporting at the end of the book, your audience is going to be pretty confused. But if you just set up that your villain is a witch with witchy magic, then you can have that witch doing a lot of things without real explanations. It kind of just depends on how you set up your world and how hard you make the general world building itself. Marvel has made itself pretty flexible in the world building, so you can have magic and gods and beings who time travel and also having a radioactive monster. This all works in the same world because they've opened the door for that. Number 2, out of reach. The second way you can incorporate a soft magic without it solving your hero's problems is to give it to a side character who just so happens to not be there when you need them. Yes, this is very tropey, but that's because it kind of works. We don't want Dumbledore solving all of Harry's problems, so we remove him from the situation, either by being on the run from the Ministry, being off on his own important mission, or, you know. Gandalf is gone for most of the second movie, and in the third movie, he doesn't even help Frodo because he's trying to defend Minas Tirith. I feel like I said that wrong, I'm sorry if I did. In Stranger Things, Season 2 and Season 4 does this by removing Eleven, the only superpowered character, from her very human friends who are being attacked by monsters. Do be careful though when you give overpowered soft magic to one of your side characters, because if that side character is just a call away, we as the audience are going to be sitting here wondering, why isn't he just there fixing all the problems? New York City has been taken over by symbiotic monsters. Why isn't Spider-Man calling the Avengers? Also keep in mind why you want your side character to have a soft magic. Are they there to make your hero feel small? Do they show the audience how powerful our hero can become? Are they there just to show up and save the day when the hero is in a complicated situation? That would be a terrible reason to add a soft magic. Don't do that. Number 3, no control. Now, what if you want your hero to have a soft magic, but you don't want them to solve problems with it? Well, simply just don't let them have control of that magic. If you watch my 4 forms of magic video, this is actually usually done using divine intervention. Prophecies, contracts with spirits, a divine entity that offers you the use of their own magic. Obviously, there are stories that take this form of magic and make it more controllable and make it work as a hard magic. But most of the time, this magic is random. It has different outcomes. In the Remnant Chronicles, the only magic in the world is a magic they called the Knowing. It's basically a form of prophecy, giving the character the ability to feel when something dangerous is going to happen. Sometimes she sees full-blown visions, sometimes she just hears voices. The hero of the story has this magic, but it's very random. She can't force it to work, and sometimes doesn't even know what it means. Because it is an uncontrollable magic, it's not used to solve plot problems. Sometimes it helps her avoid danger, and sometimes it leads her into more trouble. If it was used to solve main plot problems, it'd feel a bit like the author was just saying, okay, now I want the magic to work when it's most convenient, and we don't want the audience thinking that when they're reading a story. In Moana doesn't have control over the ocean. It's basically just like her moody spirit guide, which is why the final resolution isn't about her using the water to defeat Te Fiti, but about realizing who she really is, and then expanding on that to help Te Fiti remember who she is. This scene is so freaking beautiful and amazing. Like, this is what soft magic is used for. It's used to show these super emotional scenes, but through the visuals of magic. You can't tell me this is inferior to a hard magic. I do want to stop here and talk about Percy Jackson real quick, because he has a magic that I think kind of has a weird mixture of hard and soft. You see, his magic is both uncontrollable and controllable. There are times where he has to pray to his father to be able to control the water, but there are other times where he can just control it himself. Sometimes it's an instinctual feeling that he relies on, sometimes it is him actually putting effort in. Sometimes he has to ask a river goddess if he can use the water in her river. It's a very soft magic, and I have no problem with it being a soft magic, except he uses it to solve the main problems in the story. And when he does, I don't really feel like he accomplished anything because his powers are so based on luck and whether the goddess is allowing him to use that water that day or whether his father is paying attention to him that day. And who are you supposed to be proud of that in that moment? You know, it's not Percy because he didn't really train to get better at his powers. And he's not really overcoming any emotional struggles while doing this. So overall, the endings to Percy Jackson, they fall a little bit flat because I don't really have that satisfied feeling. But this may just be me and a problem that I see that I just don't want to recreate in my own stories. Harry Potter is also a good example of bad soft magic endings. There's nothing really satisfying about seeing Harry and Voldemort have this standoff against each other and then blast their wands at each other. I've read the book once and it was a long time ago, but what I remember is they circled around each other talking and then they shot their wands at each other and then Voldemort died. And of course in the movie there was a little bit more of a fight, but still, even in the movie, I was pretty dissatisfied by how it ended. We didn't see Harry use anything that he really learned throughout the entire series. He didn't really overcome anything emotionally. He did accept that he needed to sacrifice himself, which was really great. That was a good scene. But then after that, there was this huge battle that didn't really mean anything for the whole movie. I just feel like it's lacking something. I feel like you either needed a hard magic there with Harry learning new spells throughout the whole series and then using all those spells against Voldemort to be almost as good as Dumbledore, you know, and having like one of those Dumbledore-Voldemort fights that we saw, but with Harry and Voldemort. I think that would have been really cool. Or if you wanted to go the more soft magic route, you could have had something more emotional with Harry going on. Maybe he unlocks like a new spell because he's tapped into that love magic that his mother had for him. I don't really know. I haven't really thought this out, but I just know I don't really like the endings to almost all of the Harry Potter movies. Really great series. I love the magic and I love the world building, but the endings are always kind of lacking. Solving problems. I think solving problems with soft magic is a bit harder than not solving problems. This seems to be where the main complaints come from, and it even has its own term. I'm going to butcher this, but Deus Ex Machina. If you're not familiar with this term, it is Greek, and it has changed over time to basically mean when a god or a powerful person shows up at the end of the story to fix all of your hero's problems. Greek theater did this a lot, and I don't know about back then, but these days, readers hate this. They don't want the hero to have an easy out. The hero of your story should be the one resolving the conflict of the story, not some random god who shows up. But there are ways that you can solve problems with soft magic and it still be satisfying for readers. Number 1, consequences. This is something I realized one day while watching How to Write Great Magic by The Closer Look. This was a perspective that was so strikingly obvious, but yet never talked about that I just never realized. He basically says that usually we as the audience are satisfied when soft magic is used to solve a problem if there are great consequences. Gandalf beats the Balrog, but now we don't have Gandalf for the majority of the next movie. Eleven kills the Demogorgon but disappears. Doctor Strange sends all the villains back to their correct dimension, but now everyone will forget who Peter Parker is. All of these conflicts are resolved with this soft magic, but also there are deeper consequences for this resolution. I am a person who loves hard magic systems, and how Stranger Things ends should bother me. This is a super soft solution to a problem, but it doesn't because there's a stronger consequence for it. This actually mirrors our creating problems rule from before. The magic may solve a plot problem, but it causes an even bigger problem for our hero later. Again, we as the audience love putting our heroes in terrible situations. We're sadists like that. Number 2, a connection between your magic and inner struggle. This is when your hero's ability to use their magic coincides with their inner conflict. The magic here is usually to show where our hero is at emotionally. Maybe they can't control fire yet until they learn how to feel love. In Into the Spider-Verse, Miles can't control his venom powers, his ability to produce lightning and turn invisible. This magic is unpredictable, it's inconsistent. He can't control it.
He can't do it on command.
His struggle with this magic symbolizes him not feeling like he's ready to be a hero. But by the end of the movie, when he finally realizes he just needs to have faith in himself, he does this soft magic on command. It doesn't feel like a cheat because Miles had to go through this inner change to finally be able to control it. His magic resolution reflected his inner resolution. Now, this can get a bit muddled with hard magic because once your hero does realize how this magic works and what emotion they need to feel, it starts becoming something that you can repeat and have the same outcome of, and start using to solve problems. But this is okay if you're wanting to blend your soft magic into a hard magic. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang has this emotional stump to being able to bend fire again because he's scared of what it can do. But once he understands fire more and learns not to be afraid of it, firebending then becomes a harder magic that we then use in more strategic ways. Like the one before, this one actually mirrors our control law. A hero can have no control throughout the whole story and never use the magic to resolve plot conflict. But a hero can also have no control throughout the whole story until they gain control by resolving their own inner conflict. Just know you probably don't want to reuse the same emotional struggles throughout your story. You don't want your character realizing that all they needed was the power of friendship at the end of each season, like some animes do. Number 3, foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a very powerful tool. We talked about it back with hard magic systems, and now here it is with soft magic systems. This is because foreshadowing is an overall great tool to use in your stories, not just with magic. It can build tension, it can give us clues of what's to come, it can tie your entire story together. With soft magic, this kind of ties into everything we just discussed. Going back to Miles not being able to use his venom powers because of an emotional blockade, earlier in that movie it's foreshadowed that Miles' venom powers react when he's feeling high emotions. Aang burning Kantara in season 1 is foreshadowing that he'll be scared of firebending in season 3. I want to take a moment real quick just to explain my thought process of this specific topic. So when I was writing this script, I was thinking of the Deus Ex Machina and why people hate it and why it just doesn't work. My first conclusion was to say, well, you can only solve problems with a soft magic if there are consequences. But then I looked at Stranger Things, specifically season 2. And in this season, 11, our powerful character, is separated from all of her friends for a really long time. Towards the end of the season, 11 telepathically sees that her friends are in danger and heads back home. We then jump to the human friends. We have more scenes, more fights, and then our group of friends are cornered by a monster. Tension is high. We know they can't defeat this thing. By this point, we have forgotten that 11 is even on her way, and then she shows up and wrecks the monster in one move. It feels so amazing when 11 shows up. But why? Why does this work when a god showing up to save the day doesn't? Well, for one, it's foreshadowed that 11 is on her way. We do know that she is coming. Most of the time in these stories, when someone just shows up, there's no hint at it. They just appear and save the day. There's also this foreshadowing that the characters cannot handle this monster on their own. There is no hard magic system here for them to figure out how to kill the monster. We know that one of them is going to die unless some kind of miracle happens. But most importantly, as it is with all soft magic, this scene is built on that emotional tension that 11 has been gone and everyone has been missing her. This is the moment that her father and her best friend are getting to see her again after months. Again, soft magic is about creating those moments where we feel awe and wonder, and it makes us say, wow, that was awesome. But it relies on human conflicts, emotion, and interchange for resolutions to solidify those feelings. It doesn't work when a god shows up to save the day because we have no connection to that character and nothing is accomplished emotionally. Soft magic systems are just all about the emotional struggle. Whether you're solving the problems with the magic or not solving the problems with the magic, it all comes down to what are your characters learning? How are they changing? How are their relationships growing? And this is great to add to your hard magic systems too. Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of the hardest magic systems that I've ever seen, but it has a lot of those soft magic system elements. Aang not being able to firebend because of an emotion, or not being able to earthbend because of an emotion. And I think those connections are they're really special to have. Like I always say, this advice might not apply to you. Maybe there's more ways that you can use magic to resolve problems that I just didn't realize. This is why I love making these videos, because I get to flesh out my own ideas and my own opinions, and then I get to hear from all of you guys and how you see the magic system and how you see the world differently. So leave your comments below. I can't wait to hear from you guys on this topic. Remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day and goodbye.